Garage Talk, as always, I'm Conrad. Let's go.
It's time to rock and roll.
Teddy, the review crew is in here, and this episode is brought to you by Nicholson Realty 2.0, buying or selling residential or commercial. Nicholson Realty is the realtor for you. And we are here with the review crew boys. What's up, fellas?
What's happening?
What's up?
All right. You guys have been at it all day, or at least for 2.5 hours strong, right?
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, and you've tried some tenderloins throughout Gas City, Jonesboro, and Marion, right?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Grace is working on me right now.
And hey, Jonesy, pop quiz. What year was the first tenderloin invented?
18-something.
Easy.
1908, Huntington, Indiana.
Oh, even gay.
What was the name of the restaurant?
Wiener Schnitzel.
Show me
the wiener.
No. It's Nick's Kitchen. Nick's Kitchen. Teddy knew that. Huh? 1908. And Eric is right. It's a variation of the Wiener?
Venus.
Venus. Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. And we went to 5 different places. We would have hit Matthew's gas station, but they did not get there.
Fresh out of meat.
Fresh out. I don't know if it's ever happened to you when, you couldn't get the meat going. They couldn't get it either. We went to Horner's. We went to the Legion. We went to
Jonesboro Legion. Myers
Drive-In. We went Don's Tap, and the Rocks/Poorhouse or Poorhouse/Rocks. So let's kick this off with the first place we went. We were down in Jones, Tucky. No slight, Jonesboro, Indiana.
Boy.
Baby.
At the beautiful Legion. Jonesy, what'd you think?
Well, the Legion was a last-minute deal. Somebody I know asked why we didn't include him, and honestly, a lot of people don't know the Legion serves food. So we got a couple tenderloins made up. We checked them out. It was solid. I mean, my opinion on a tenderloin is kind of like eggs. They're all the same, just depends on how you like them.
What'd you think about the bread to meat ratio?
Bread to meat ratio, I put a 3.5.
3.5.
And my comment was...
Out of 5.
Yeah, out of 5, and my comment that I wrote in was, I like mine a little thick. I mean, yeah.
Is that like anything else you like thick?
Yeah.
Cake?
Yeah, cake.
Milkshakes.
Okay. No runny milkshakes for Jonesy. Easy?
Yeah, first off, I've been to the American Legion a few times in the past. It always seemed very smoky, crowded. Apparently you can't smoke in there anymore. It's pretty nice, clean. Definitely somewhere I would go eat. I wouldn't have previously, but it was very nice. Everybody was nice in there. Seemed like a pretty good place to go. As far as the bread to meat ratio, I gave it a 3 out of 5. The tenderloin was the exact same size as the bun, albeit the bun was a pretty big bun, and I'd say it was only medium thickness. That's what got the 3 out of 5 for me.
All right, Horny.
So I only gave her a 2.3 on the bread to meat because
Okay.
I thought the loin was pretty small. The thickness was all right. That was pretty good, but
We'll get there, yeah.
I felt like the bone was at least the same size, maybe a little bigger than the tenderloin. So,
Pete's Pride.
but it was still
It
good.
was bigger than Pete's Pride.
Now I do like Pete's Pride, but that's getting off subject. I gave it a 2.3 myself. Bread to meat ratio, I've grown accustomed, I've been spoiled. I like the bun in the center to where I have to hold it with 2 hands to take a bite, but that's just me. When you eat something, you need 2 hands to do it. Jonesy, tenderloin thickness.
She was thick.
Thick and tender?
Very juicy is what I have.
Ooh.
Thick, tender, juicy. I mean, I like mine thick, like I said, so I like the thick.
What's your score?
Oh, yeah. I put a 4.5 on that for the thickness.
4.5?
It was pretty thick.
Okay.
I gave it a 3 out of 5. It was pretty even size. The thickness was probably in the middle of what we've seen. There is a debate of whether this is a Swayze tenderloin or not. There is an outside source that says it is, but we also had a Swayze tenderloin at another establishment, and it was nothing like this tenderloin. So maybe somebody could chime in comments that is there different Swayze tenderloins? There's kind of a debate on if that is actually a Swayze tenderloin.
That's an interesting question.
Yeah.
I'd say the other Swayze loin was sauced up a little. Maybe not sauced up,
A little bit
but
different seasoning.
maybe added a little
It
seasoning
didn't even appear to
to
be
it.
the same size.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe they did a little extra pounding on it, who knows?
You can always tell when it hasn't been pounded very
Something's got a little
much.
extra pounded, you can usually tell.
Yeah.
I gave it a 3.3. I thought the thickness was pretty good. It was a medium thickness.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't pounded out too much.
I guess thickness and tenderness is objective. I gave it a 3.1. It was what you would expect from, and not that the Legion is just a bar. It's not. It's a gathering place. The food was what you would expect. It is. Jonesy, we're moving on. Breading quality and flavor.
I gave it a 3.2, and in my comments I wrote, it was a little too crispy on the edge, like maybe could have taken it off the fryer maybe a minute sooner.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, it was still edible, it wasn't burnt, it was just crispy.
I gave it a 4 out of 5 for breading quality and flavor because the breading was good breading and it had good flavor. I reserved my frying judgment until the frying technique's number 6.
Okay.
I did a 3.5. I like a little bit more crunchy
Kind of the same
breading.
thing there.
Yeah.
It may have been left in there a little bit long, but it was still good breading.
Yeah. I gave it a 3.1, fellas. And again, I said it a couple different times. When critiquing, I am being very hard on the food. I think, if you're just going there and you're going to eat and you just want a quick bite, I think it's right up your alley. I gave it a 3.1 for breading quality. It's not like the Legion has any control over that if they're getting it from a distributor.
They didn't have a bad price on it either.
No, not a bad price.
$6.50.
Yeah.
Yeah, $6.50 for that price.
And along those lines with any of these places that are bars, I mean, you go there and drink 16, 20 beers, this tenderloin's gonna be fine, every one of them. I mean, if you're going there in a suit and a tie on your first
Yeah.
date, you probably have different expectations.
I don't think that if you're 10 beers deep, you're not going to really be
I doubt breading
nitpicking
quality and
it,
flavor is gonna be an issue.
unless it's raw.
It's called
Yeah.
beer.
Unless they're trying to kill Eric's game.
We call that beer quality, not that.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. We're going to talk bun quality and bun freshness with the bun master himself.
Master B.
Yeah, well, my anaconda don't want none unless you
Hey,
got buns.
hey, what's how many spokes do we need on a wheel?
At least 5.
At least 5.
14 if it's a good one. My bun quality and freshness, it was a fresh bun, and it was an actual pretty big bun, I think, compared to most. So I gave it a 4.1 on the bun, if that's solely what we were grading on. But thinking back, other places we went, it wasn't the best tasting bun, and I probably didn't score it accordingly to that at the other place, but I mean, it was a solid bun. fresh, wasn't stale.
What was that score?
4.1.
4.1.
I gave it a 5 out of 5. It was, to me, the best bun that we tried all day. It just so happened to be the first one.
I gave it a 3.1. I mean, it was soft, it was pretty good.
Toad likes a soft bun. I gave it a 3.2. Like I said earlier, this, whenever you're doing a food review and doing multiple, you always have a baseline, and I feel like the Legion was my baseline. So I gave the bun a 3.2. It was good. It's a bun. So we're moving on to frying technique. Jonesy.
Well, as my buddy said, I may have jumped the gun on this a little. But I did put the same comment down on this. I gave it a 2.4. The edges were a little too crispy for my liking, but like I said, they wasn't burnt. Maybe some people like it, I just don't. So I gave it a 2.1 on that.
Okay.
I gave frying techniques 3 of 5. Tasted like the grease had been cleaned, at least this year. It was a little overcooked, which is a lot better than dying.
I had it at a 2.9. I felt like it was definitely a little overcooked. I mean, I like it a little crispy, but it was pretty crunchy on the edges.
My scoring again. I was being real critical. It was a little bit too burnt for me on the edges.
Yeah.
I gave it a 1.8. Again, like I said, if I'm there 10 beers deep, that thing's delicious. Or it's going to get me through the next 10 beers.
Didn't kill you.
And it didn't kill me. I'm here to talk about it. And presentation and portion size. Jonesy, come on.
All right.
You got it. You say it. That flag was nice.
No, I've got it in my comments.
Got it all.
I gave it a 4.7 because we were at the American Legion, and I'll be damned if that thing didn't come out with a flag stuck right in the middle of it.
Loved it. Loved it.
So, my comment, I like the flag. 4.7.
I gave it a 4 out of 5. Also, the flag was a nice touch. It came out on a clean paper and a clean boat. I kind of give that score based on the size of the sandwich and it only being $6.50 also.
Good value.
Well, I went with a 2.1 because I'm used to a tenderloin oversticking the bread
Yeah.
and being a lot wider than that, and wasn't very wide. But other than that, I mean, it looked good when it came out.
Must be a Russian.
My score solely on the flag and the boat. I'm not a naval man, but the boat was nice. I liked the flag. That was cool. Gave it a 2.8. 2.8. I was, to be honest with you, who would have thought that a flag would have been coming out on that tenderloin?
That's right.
That was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. Flavor, complexity, Jonesy. Were you complexed?
I mean,
Or perplexed.
perplexed, complex,
Suplexed?
suplexed. I gave it a 4.6. This is the first one we went to. That, looking back, might have been a little generous, but it was a good tenderloin, other than the crispy edges, but it tastes good. I felt like it was a good tenderloin. I gave it a 4.6.
Nice.
So I'm a pretty simple man. This flavor complexity, does the tenderloin have depth of flavor on its own, means nothing to me. It was a good tenderloin.
Thank you, because
3 out
I
of
was just
5.
making shit up.
It was, good as 3. It was a good tenderloin. That's
Good.
pretty much it.
Yeah, I just said
Respect.
good, yes or no.
It was a good tenderloin. I gave it a 2.9, but I feel like they could have added some more seasoning to it, and it would have graded a lot higher.
Yeah. I gave it a 3.3. It wasn't the worst tenderloin I've had, but it also was just there. Like you show up to a place and you've never been there before, you order their food and you're just eating, you just don't know. It's a surprise. It's my first time eating at the Legion. I thought it was okay. It was not. It could have been worse, and it wasn't. It was decent. It's respectable. I gave it a 3.3.
I'd definitely go eat it again,
For sure.
definitely.
They have a
Good
pretty,
music,
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I played.
clean establishment.
very clean
Yeah,
establishment.
they got rid of the smoking down in there,
Yeah.
that helped out a lot.
I believe they have a new commander, and they're trying to sway away from
Is
the bar.
anybody, is it open to the public?
It is on certain
Can you
nights.
just walk in and eat, or do you have to be a member of this place?
I always thought it was on certain nights. 'cause-
Certain nights you can go in.
Certain weekend nights.
Yeah. But for the most part, I believe you have to be a member.
It's kind of perplexing that we would do a review on somewhere
Yeah.
that's a private place that anybody watching this can't go to.
Well, I'm gonna be real honest
remember.
with you. If you're a veteran and
Well,
like, why wouldn't you be a part of the Legion?
How do you become a member? What's the,
So
Yeah, how do
obviously
you
you
do
can
it?
be a veteran. I mean, I don't know all the things, but I'm not a veteran.
You can be a son.
I am a son. My grandfather was in the war, and I mean, all you have to do is fill out an application.
so
If you have an
anybody in
affiliation,
your family who's in the military, you can get in there?
for the most part,
And you just
yes.
walk in and tell them,
I wanna
my
sign
uncle's in
up.
the military, where do I sign?
Yep.
Okay.
I believe
It's
when I
proven
signed up,
everything.
I had to give my grandpa's
Name.
some kind of number,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
But it's not hard. If you want to be a member, you can
Okay.
be a member.
Again, if you're a veteran and you're, I mean, just
I would assume most veterans would know. that they
yeah,
could-
places like the Moose,
Right.
and like, why wouldn't you want to be a part of those places?
Right.
The beer was $1.50.
Right.
And
So-
the Tenderloin was free.
Yeah, they gave us, even though
Only
the
on
tenderloin's
Friday.
regular $6.50, they gave us a free tenderloin. And I will say this.
Free Tenderloin.
Two.
We were bringing 10-1 and it didn't make it off the table.
Yeah, $13 worth of tenderloins.
I'm like starving because I already had supper by now. That's why I'm not drinking, because I had 2 beers and I'd be drunk. There's nothing in my
I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
Sometimes it
I don't believe it.
Cheap date.
Get you a bowl of that popcorn, and I'll get you a beer because I'm about out.
He was waiting on 5 Tenderloins for all. He didn't get shit.
I know he's like, I didn't eat all day. How
You
many
didn't get no
get
Tenderloins and you're sharing a microphone.
At least one.
I still got a piece of one
Back
from
to
Hoarders.
But we do need to let everybody know that you guys got these tenderloins with nothing on, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's another big thing.
Yeah, we raw dogged
It's the
them.
first time I've ever eaten a breaded Tenderloin without at least a half a bottle of ketchup.
Now, to be fair, at the Legion, Eric and I, they gave us a thing of ketchup, and we did dunk in it.
After the review, I didn't
Right.
do any of that for this review, but when we were done scoring it, there was Ted's Tenderloin left that we ate with ketchup.
I'm a mustard pickle guy on my
You
tenderloin.
ever tried barbecue on a Tenderloin?
Oh yeah,
It's pretty
I
good.
put barbecue on scrambled eggs. It's technically barbecue chicken, right?
You
Yeah.
ever been to prison?
No,
No, I just
not what my record shows anymore. Anyways,
All right.
let's
Hit
hit
at the end, or-
with those totals.
I had a 25 out of 35.
I had 27 out of 35.
I had a 20.1.
19.6. I was being super critical.
I'll take one of
And
those.
then we have the totals. and
Yeah.
What's the total for the
For the
Legion?
total out of the Legion, it was 91.7.
And that would have been out of how many possible?
Do the math. 40?
75?
Over to Horners, and
Well, while he's not here, maybe you can explain when we called Horners
Yeah.
what the process was.
So-
Had to be the freshest Tenderloin of the batch.
yes, it was definitely the freshest tenderloin. So we called Horners ahead of time. I asked them if they had any ready already in their hot food section or deli, and they said no, but they could make one up real fast. When I went in there, he had mine in the fryer, but he was pounding out a
So they
pork
went to the
loin.
meat section, got
Yeah.
the pork
Yeah,
chop.
got the pork chop, pounded it out, breaded it, threw it in the fryer. Pretty cool. I
Yeah.
thought that was cool as shit. Jonesy, bread to meat ratio at Horners, at Horn Dogs. What'd you think?
Gave it a 4.7, and I don't have any comments written down, but
And we're in the back of a truck.
we were in the back of a truck. Wasn't a good look.
You were handling a knife.
Handling a
Trying to cut a tenderloin in half, we're using a sty as a cutting board with a fillet knife that would cut your arm off.
Yeah. They didn't add ketchup in the bag, but for some reason, there was ketchup there. Anyway, I gave it a 4.7. It was a pretty good sized tenderloin.
From his thigh, he sliced it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 because it was a tenderloin that was outside the bun, and up to that point, that was the first one that we had seen that characteristic on.
I also gave it over a 4. I gave it a 4.3, just because of how big the tenderloin was extended past the bun.
I gave it a 3.4 because of my baseline of the Legion. It was extended out past the bun, but it wasn't like explosively. It was, what, maybe 1.5 inches outside the bun? Who knows? Nobody's measuring. Up next, tenderloin thickness. Tenderness. Thickness and tenderness.
Girth.
5 spokes. Let's go.
I gave it a 2.1.
For thickness?
From
Okay.
Horners, yeah.
Okay.
Thickness and tenderness. It was thin and it was crispy. And that's my comments on that one.
I gave it a 4.5 because it was tender. It appeared to be, well, one of the categories is the tenderloin pounded evenly? It appeared to be pounded evenly in front of Conrad's eyes.
I gave it a 2.3. I thought the thickness was pretty decent compared to what we had just ate before, so.
I usually try not to look, but watching something get pounded like that was nice. It was very interesting. The thickness and tenderness, I gave a 3.1. It was to me better than the baseline of the Legion. Anyways, breading quality and flavor, Jonesy.
I gave it a 2.1, and my comment on that was maybe they needed to change the oil with a question mark. I kind of taste a little extra besides the tenderloin, maybe a hint of fried chicken or a potato wedge.
Blooming onion.
Blooming onion.
I gave it a 2 out of 5 because it was definitely crispy, but it tastes like no seasoning at all. It tastes like a piece of cube steak that was just battered in flour.
I gave it a 2.2. That pretty much Eric summed it up. Like there was no seasoning
I
on it.
tasted flour pretty much.
I mean, it had a good texture to it, but there was just no flavor.
Yeah, I agree. Had a good texture. I gave it a 2.1 as well. You said cube steak and not tube steak, right? Just checking.
You may have heard tube steak. Since you like watching,
I've got one ear,
since
Eric.
you like watching things get pounded.
I got one
I don't know if
ear.
you use a mirror to do that.
I got mirrors on my ceilings for Christmas.
See what's behind you.
Bun quality.
We'll make up.
Jeez Louise.
The bun quality. I put a 4.4 on there, and my comment was the bun was fresh. I mean, it was fresh. 4.4. So I must have been impressed with it.
I put a 4 out of 5. I mean, it was soft, it was fresh, it was a good bun.
Right there in the middle, 3.3.
Okay. I gave it a 3.8. I thought it was soft, fresh, right out of the bag.
Oh, yeah.
Frying technique, Jonesy.
Frying technique, I gave it a 2.1 because I just thought it was overcooked. That one in particular was really overcooked on the edges, if I remember right. Because I think when we opened it, I was like, oh, hell, there's a chicken gizzard on the side. But
I gave it 3 out of 5 for the same reasons. It was overcooked. It tasted like the oil or something other than tenderloin in there. I don't know what it is, or I'm assuming everything's fried in the same oil, but it just got a 3 from me.
I got a 3.5. Yes, the outside was, but that bite in the middle had a nice Chris bite to it. It's really good.
Yeah.
What about the outside?
On that S on the outside.
I gave it a 2.1 because I also tasted several different flavors. I was hoping it was, we'll get to that here in a second. Presentation and portion size.
So this one pretty much is just a portion size because we got this one to go. You know, they're not going to decorate any shit for people to go. So it just came in, aluminum foil? Mm-hmm. But as far as the portion size, it was decently sized, so I gave it a 4.5.
I think the portion size for the $5 that it cost
Right?
was pretty good. I gave it good, which is a 3 out of 5. Was that Tenderloin donated also, or did you have to pay for that?
That was a donated
So,
Tenderloin.
Perfect.
Donated.
Perfect.
You wanna change that score?
nah, it's still just good.
Okay. I'm at a 3.9. It was a good size.
I'm at a 3.2 because portion size for $5, that was a decent sized sandwich. And when you unwrap the foil, it looked pretty good. It looked like it was going to be like probably the best one of the day. But looks are deceiving. Going on to Jonesy, what was your thoughts on the flavor complexity?
I gave it a 1.7 because my comment was there's not much flavor. So 1.7.
I gave it a 1 out of 5 because there was no flavor other than pork and flour. But I mean, if that's what you're into, it'd probably be your number 1. But you know, I like to have some kind of a seasoning, especially with not being able to put a half a bottle of ketchup on.
I get that.
And I handed it a 2.9 just because of there really wasn't much flavor or seasoning to it.
I gave it a 1.2, but good point, Eric. If we were able to doctor this up the way we wanted to, the way you normally would eat a Tenderloin,
May have been different scores.
may have been a different score, but in order for us to
Different
not,
kinds of ketchup. I mean, you never
pickles, onions,
trying to
whatever you
eliminate
like
all the
on.
variables, you have to
Yeah.
eat a plate.
Yeah, we took all that out to give you our most objective score. 1.2. Jonesy, what was your total score?
My total score was a 19.6 for Horners.
I had a 21 even.
And I had a 22.4.
I had an 18.9, and we are now moving on to
That makes the total score 81.9.
moving on down to the tap. Don's
What's
tap.
that?
Jonesy, bread meat ratio.
I gave it a 4.7 because, once again, I like the thick ones, not the big wide ones. Then my comment in the comments was it looked good on arrival, so I gave it a 4.7.
I gave it a 4 out of 5 because the Tenderloin was bigger than the bun. It was good size, it wasn't too big, wasn't too small, but it was very good.
I gave her just a decent 3.5.
Okay. All right. I thought it was okay. I gave it a 2.8. We could probably get into a debate after.
Yeah, we should. We
yeah.
definitely should. Because his
Because-
likes
yes.
and my likes are different.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody.
Yeah. And plus, this Tenderloin was supposed to match the other Tenderloin.
Right.
And those
And definitely
Tenderloins
didn't. Definitely
did
didn't.
not match.
But if you read, so I know for a fact the Legions comes from the same place.
Okay.
And on their menu at Don's Tap,
Says
it says
Swayze
where
loin.
it comes from. It's a Swayze loin. So
Yeah. We'll dig into
It
that.
might be Swayze, Alabama. Those two ain't the same.
Good point.
Right.
Good point.
Clarification.
I did give it a 2.8, and thickness. tenderness, Jonesy.
I'm gonna go. I put it a 4.7, and in my comments there, I put she's thick. 2 C's. She's thick.
I gave it a 5 out of 5, but not for that reason. It was very juicy, like you could squeeze it and there was still juice in the tenderloin.
Agree.
I mean, I thought it was perfect for thickness and tenderness.
I gave it a 3.6. I thought it was just a little bit more thicker than the others and a little bit more juicy than the others.
Tough crowd.
I gave it a 3.3.
Damn.
Yeah, I gave it a 3.3. Like I said, baseline, you know, you hate to say just because you're first, this is what everything else is judged upon you, but that's the way it was with me. 3.3, I thought the thickness was better, and like I felt like everything was getting better as the day went on. And the tenderness, it was good. It was decent. 3.3 out of 5. Breading quality and flavor.
All right. I gave it a 4.9. It was cooked well but not burnt, and it had something in it. And we've debated this and tried to figure out what it was, but there was something in it that you could taste. You know, maybe they put a little extra seasoning on it, whatever, when they cooked it, but it was a very good tasting tenderloin in my opinion. I gave it a 4.9.
I gave it a 5 out of 5 for breading quality and flavor because to me it was the most flavorful breading. It also it was crisp and the breading was thin. It wasn't a lot of breading, it was just the right amount. And I thought it tasted the best out of any of them.
I gave it a 4.1. They didn't say what it tasted like, but mine felt like it had a honey flavor to it on the seasoning, which I thought was really good.
Okay. I gave it a 3.9. Breading quality and flavor. I tasted like a little bit of onion, a little bit of maybe garlic or something. There was something there. And these are supposed to be from Swayze, so there's something there.
We'll doctored up Swayze.
Yeah, maybe. We'll get to that here in a second. But bun quality and freshness. Bun quality and freshness, Jonesy.
I gave this a 5 out of 5 because the bun was great. It was the best bun that, hands down, all day. I believe it. What do they call it? What's it start with? B?
Bruschetta bun.
Looked like a little had a
Another fancy name.
a little buttered glaze on it.
It was toasted, like grilled with butter. I mean, they put extra time into making that bun. It wasn't
It was very good.
It wasn't an out of the bag Horner's bun.
Yeah, I almost thought it was Hawaiian rollish.
Kind of had a sweet flavor to
Could've
it.
been.
Yeah.
I gave it a 5 out of 5.
I gave it a 3.5. I did like the, whatever you call it, bruschetta bun, or, I'm really not a bun fan, because I like them as
Like
small
the
as they
tips,
can be,
or
but I'm more about the tenderloin than the bun, but I gave it a 3.5.
Bun quality, I gave a 4.2. The freshness, man, the bun was like, when they brought it out, I was like, man, I hope it's not a pretzel bun. I'm not a fan of the pretzel bun. Frying technique.
Well,
It's just been discovered that he didn't even give that a score,
I will say,
which changes all of our totals.
give me your pen.
This could change everything.
I've been right there.
I think it will change everything, but I'll say she wasn't burnt.
You gave a comment, but not a score.
No, there's no comment.
Oh yeah, you gave it on the wrong
Cooked
one.
well, not burnt. But I didn't put a score there, so that affects things at the end. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that now.
What's your scoring it?
I'm going to score it a 4.1
On the,
on the frying technique.
Okay.
I felt like it was cooked right. It wasn't burnt. I didn't feel like around the edges.
oh boy. Because we know. That's a different, oh
We
boy.
know.
Let me go to the tally sheet while you go to
Well,
E.
don't let, no,
I'm not going to
I gave it a 5 out of 5 because it was cooked perfectly. tasted like tenderloin and bread. It didn't taste any weird grease taste. I gave it a 5 out of 5 for that reason.
I gave her a 3.9 because it had a good crisp breading and a pink middle.
Nothing like a good pink middle. Unless it's chicken, right? How many times have you been tried to,
Only twice.
they tried to kill this man twice.
I believe it was the same cook.
They say he's hard to kill. Fine technique, I gave a 4.2.
Jesus Christ. Not allowed to say word, Jesus Christ.
4.2, I thought it was I've yet to have the perfect tenderloin, but it was golden. It was golden. Presentation and portion size. Jonesy.
He's still adding stuff up, so I'm gonna go ahead and
Go ahead.
I gave it a 2 out of 5, and it's not because of the presentation, because it was really good. It has to do with this is a $14 tenderloin. Ooh. It did say it come with a side of chips. They did make us pay full price. Even after knowing that we do these reviews and they've actually won one of them, I thought was kind of odd, but it's supposed to come with chips. We didn't get no chips. I don't know why. It doesn't matter. I want a chip review, but for $14, and this is the same tenderloin you can buy for $6.50 at the Jonesboro American Legion, it got a 2 out of 5 for that.
Okay.
Yeah, I should have put that in perspective. I put it 4.2 because I thought it looked really good and the portion size was nice, but if I'd have put it reflected with the $14 like he did, I'd have been about 2.5.
Well, you're not alone. I gave it a 4.1.
Defect, final.
We'll talk about this here in a second. Flavor complexity, Jonesy.
I gave it a 5, and my comments were it was juicy, it was flavorful, the bun is a good touch, and it's going to be hard to beat. And also put on the downside is the price.
Okay.
For flavor complexity, I gave it a 5 out of 5 because it had me perplexed. I don't know what that flavor was. There was something in that breading that it was great. Don't get me wrong. It just was kind of weird. I never tasted that on a tenderloin, and I liked it. So it got a 5 out of 5.
I gave her a 3.7. I thought the breading was good, and was there like a butter on the bun?
Yeah, it was like a grilled bun.
Yeah, it was really good. So I gave her a 3.7.
I gave it a 4.1. Okay, this is my thing. It was $14 with homemade chips. Not that I needed to try the homemade chips. It would have been nice to see there.
Well, whether I wanted a chip, was it like a Lay's chip or was it like a potato chip?
They
like
said it was a house-made chip.
Okay.
House-made chip.
I've had them, they're decent, but that's not what
Okay,
we
so
reviewed.
let's just say the chips were $2. It's still a $12 tenderloin.
So that being said, does Swayze tenderloin have like, hey, do you want the
Different
premier
grades?
tenderloin?
Yeah, there you go, man.
Or do you want, the
Great value, Randy.
great value?
I mean, the public can buy them in a sleeve, and they're $2.50 a piece.
Yes,
Yeah.
I've actually bought a sleeve today.
So,
The Walnut Creek in Upland sells them. They are $25 for a sleeve, and they of 10, and they offer you normal tenderloins or spicy tenderloins.
Now, and here's another thing. Aside from the price of $14, what should a tenderloin look like? Should it be not round? Should it be oval? Should it be?
well, as we all know, being from Indiana, I think we all know what we think a tenderloin should look like. I'm not going to give anybody any free plugs, but there's a certain stand that's been at the Gas City Park for the last 70 years. That's what a tenderloin looks like to me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just
Right.
not to say that you can't have a perfectly round one that isn't good.
Yeah.
That's just not what I think of when I think of an Indiana tenderloin.
I'm going to say if it's perfectly round, it is factory made.
Sure, it'd have to be.
Yeah, you want one.
I agree.
I
agree.
It'd have to be.
You want one that's oval?
You want one that's got rough around the edges, that means they
Yeah.
smashed it out by hand.
Total score on that.
32.5.
Woo!
It's pretty high out of 35. I gave it a 31 out of 35.
Okay.
You did some math.
I gave it a 26.5, which was higher than
Yeah.
the other two that I graded.
Don's Tap has been a favorite place of mine to eat, and my score almost matches Horn's. 26.6 is what I gave him, and now we are going to move on to
With a total score of 116.5.
116.5.
They're in the lead.
Yeah,
They are in the lead.
they're in the lead now.
Now, slow down. I think it'll be good.
Let's move on to
That
Myers.
Pete when it's his turn.
Yeah.
Talk about. I'm not mad about that. So
You didn't even drink a full
so
beer. I haven't pissed since Tuesday.
But when you do, it's gonna fall.
hey, you know what? I speaking of that, I remember one night we drank a shit ton of beer. I don't even want to put a number on it.
When?
Not today.
Not today. Not today. We drank a shit ton of beer, and this guy had like 3 fountain Mountain Dews and still did not urinate. Like 44-ounce Mountain Dews and not urinate. Incredible. Remarkable. We got to call Guinness Book of World Records. Anyways,
That definitely need to be studied.
I got to ask you guys, what do you guys think about the drones in New Jersey? Is that crazy?
Is it still a thing, or is that?
I don't know. Now we're moving on.
I mean, I
to the
think
next
there's
one.
about 7 dudes like us getting drunk every night and flying their drones and just laughing their ass off at all
Yeah.
these people that think it's.
Yeah.
I mean, even as stupid as our government is, if it was something bad, they would have handled it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in my opinion,
Yeah.
there's laws. There's nothing you can do about it. I mean, we can do that here in Gas City if we want to.
So my question is,
I'll take one.
I do. My question is, if the government has like found out, because there's no way they don't know with the FAA, because after a certain weight you have to register that drone.
Sure.
There's no way they don't know who's drone.
I mean, you could always fly it unregistered. I mean, you don't have to. The law says you have to, but I mean, you could fly it unregistered. I mean, at the end of the day, if we could turn a man driving his Mercedes-Benz in Afghanistan down the road to an ashtray with a missile, I'm pretty sure we could figure out what these drones are.
What are we talking about here?
I mean, they can look into your window and
Yeah.
telecolor your eyes from Mars.
Yeah.
Something
know.
important knows what the drones are, and it's not important.
Yeah. They know whose drones that is. Right?
I mean, they're not missing much flying over New Jersey, I'll tell you that.
We are at Myers.
Myers driving.
Myers driving.
Dalton Bishop.
Dalton Bishop. Oh.
He hand paid for these.
Yes, he
Courtesy of Dalton
did.
Bishop.
G.
He
Bish.
took care of it. Shout out to Dalton Bishop.
Yep. Bread to meat ratio at Myers Drive-In.
Myers Drive-In, I gave bread to meat ratio a 2.9. I didn't have any comments on it, but, well, that's my last comment. So, yeah,
Okay.
2.9.
Bread to meat ratio for me was a 3 out of 5. There was the sandwich, the tenderloin did extend out past the bun, but it was thinner than piss on a platter. So the meat to bread ratio, even though the meat appeared to be bigger, I guarantee the bread weighed more than that tenderloin. So I gave it a 3 out of 5. It was just good.
I gave it a 3.9. I wasn't really looking at the thickness. I was just looking at how much bigger it was than the bun. That's why I gave it a 3 points.
Well, I gave it a 2.8. I was,
So it's all right.
don't want to say disappointed, but it was really thin. Like they had ran it through something.
Like one of them old
Yeah.
clothes wringing out machines
Yeah.
inside of a wash barrel.
Yeah, like to dry your clothes. Like
Or you're trying to, those jerky presses.
yeah, it got wrung out. That thing was.
So I'll probably give
I would say
It was
thinner than a cracker, but piss on a platter is
And
interesting.
we got the luxury of cutting this in quarters, so
Yeah.
you could actually see the inside of the meat, And Jonesy put it at 1/8 of an inch. It was thin.
Okay. All
Was
right.
it as thin as Horner's?
So,
I think it was thinner than
Oh, it's way
So
thin.
Horner's was a 16th of
It was the thinnest Tenderloin.
For those of you that
think-
don't know how to read tape
I
measures.
think Myers was thinner than Horner's,
Yes.
Oh,
Myers was thinner than any of the Tenderloin.
in my opinion.
yeah.
okay.
So, take your time, tenderloin thickness, and
Tenderness.
All right. Well, once again, I don't have any notes on this one, but I gave it a 2.9. It was thin, and I think I told Eric this was 1/8 of an inch, so maybe
It's pretty
No,
close.
no tape measures involved, it was thin.
it was thin.
Yeah, it's-
It was thin. So
I gave it a 3 out of 5. I thought it was a little dry, and I'm assuming that's because it was so thin. But it wasn't chewy. It looked like it was pounded out evenly, which is one of the things we were asked to judge. It just looked like it was pounded way too thin. You know, I don't really know what the weight is of the starting of these loins. That might be something you could find out, but this one definitely appeared to be way thinner than the rest.
I went with a 2.2 because it was very thin and pounded out. But in reference to Meyer, they do have two different styles of tenderloins. They have a smaller one that is a little bit more thicker, but then they have the one that we ate that was really.
And what on the menu it says, what, breaded tenderloin, which is what we got, and then it says big tenderloin.
Yes, yes.
We got the breaded, I don't know what the big is.
Right. I just know one's bigger than the other, and I think that's
And maybe we should have ordered the big, I don't know,
Right.
but we'll
They have
judge
two-
what we
They
got.
have two different styles of tenderloins.
right.
But
a good point.
I just gave it a 2.2 just because of how thin it was.
I'll say another thing I've been meaning to comment. It's very highly unlikely that anybody is pounding these tenderloins out. They have a tenderizer machine and they drop it through. How many times it goes through that is probably
Well, Connor
how-
watched him do it at Horner's with his own 2 eyes.
with a tenderizer hammer.
it was no, they didn't use, he wasn't there fucking, Molly hatching
Right.
it.
It was a damn
pounded out, you liar.
It was
They put
pounded.
it in and it spit it
Isn't
out.
that pounded?
No, they put it in and
Yeah.
spit it out.
Yeah.
Which is a tenderizer machine, but so the more times it goes through that
We've been
machine,
lied to.
yeah, the more times it goes
I
through that
picture the
machine,
guy back here with a
the
smart
thinner
rag
it
on and a
is.
fucking 5-pound sledge going
A
to town.
do-rag?
Yeah,
You
listen
mean
to Molly Hatch.
some immigrant just walking away? Just what I would expect.
He was flirting with his ass.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
I gave it a 1.8. It was too thin to be tender.
Yeah, I agree.
I
I had
don't
one of those
think,
last night.
I mean, no disrespect to him, but it was way too thin to be tender. And like you guys was talking about, there was a couple different sizes.
So in the process of making these, the more times you run it through the machine, the thinner it's going to get.
Correct.
Right.
Unless you start off with a bigger piece of meat, right? I mean, you start off with a 14-ounce tenderloin, and you can run it through there 5 times, it's going to be this big and still thick, right?
Well, like you were saying, there was two different tenderloins we could have ordered.
Yeah.
There's a regular breaded and a big one. So I'm pretty sure they gave us the,
They probably gave us a small, but in Conrad's
Yeah.
defense, we called and said we wanted a plain breaded tenderloin.
Right. Yeah.
They never said, do you want a big one?
right.
You know, it's their menu, it's their job to steer us to the best tenderloin they have,
Yeah.
which was also more expensive.
Right.
Why
Right.
wouldn't you
Right.
ask somebody if you want the bigger one?
We talk about this all the time, upselling.
Sure.
If I'm on the phone and somebody says I want a plain tenderloin, you're getting that.
Hey, this is that
Right.
660 for $9 to
Yeah.
get you a big one. What do you want?
Yeah.
What was it, $6.69 for
Right,
that
and
tenderloin?
Yeah.
9 for the big dog.
Pretty much
Which was a
$7.
really good price for $6.69.
I thought it was a good tenderloin for the price.
Or, which we might have to go back and see, they just run it through one more time for this.
Right.
It-
One more
There's
time.
no way it could be anything.
One more
It'd
time.
be jerky at that point.
I gave it a 1.8. Breading quality and flavor. Jonesy.
All right, so I didn't put any comment on this one, but I think it's at the bottom.
Yeah, you gotta
After
share
I'm
that.
looking at my shirt. Yeah, there's tenderizer.
The other
Quarters
side.
down session.
So I gave it a 3.4, and at the comment at the bottom, and this is probably one of the most genuine comments, is I was very surprised at the tenderloin from Meyer. Take that how you want, but the flavor and the quality was good. It was a pretty solid loin, in my opinion.
I mean, I don't know about being surprised. I didn't really have any expectations going in other than the hamburgers we tried there.
Exactly.
I gave it a 4 out of 5 because I thought it tasted really good.
I did too.
I don't recall if I've had a tenderloin from there or not, but I mean, I guess I don't know what I had in my mind looking at it, but I thought it tasted really good. So I gave it a 4 out of 5.
I ended up giving it a 3.8. Really good seasoning. I don't know how old the grease was or anything, but whatever they seasoned it in was really good.
Yeah. I gave it a 3.1, and I think because of everything prior to that had like really got to me. It being as thin, because the previous was thickness and tenderness. It was more like thinness and tenderness. But the flavor was still good, so I gave it a 3.1, and I'll tenderize that one. Bun quality, freshness, Jonesy.
I gave it a 3. I mean, it was a fresh bun, and I mean, that's about all I got for it. Fresh bun, it wasn't stale.
I'm the same boat. I gave it a 3. I mean, if you're just going to throw a bun on a tenderloin, you're not getting more than a 3. You're going to have to toast it, butter it, flip it up, rub it, whatever, something, other than just slap it on there.
And same reason, that's why I only gave it a 2.9, just a regular old bun.
Nothing bad.
Yeah, it wasn't nothing bad.
Yeah, it was
It wasn't no bruschetta or whatever.
It wasn't,
3.2 is what I gave it. It was a top and a bottom.
Right.
Agreed.
Frying technique, Jonesy.
Frying technique, I gave it a 3.3 because it wasn't burnt anywhere. It was cooked all the way, same color all the way through. I feel like they did a good job on frying it.
I'm going to give him a 5 out of 5 for the frying technique, and I'm going to tell you why, because if you drop that thin little bastard in the grease and turned around to flip a hamburger, it was going to be burnt. And it wasn't. It was cooked perfect. To be able to cook something that thin perfect, that's a 5 out of 5.
Okay.
I gave it a 3.9. It had a good crisp to it for being that small. It was pretty good.
Okay. Well, I gave it a 4.2 because, like Eric said, you couldn't blink.
No.
You had to stare that thing down. Also, when we unveiled it, it had a nice color to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It had a really nice color, and the
Nice and
texture.
golden.
You could see like all the breading particles on it. It was nice. Presentation, portion size, Jonesy.
Once again, we ordered this one to go, but it wasn't greasy or anything. I wouldn't look at it and be like, damn, I gotta eat that tenderloin, but it was edible, looked good just from the presentation, and I gave it a 2.5.
I gave it a 3 out of 5. Going back to, it seems this category, I always go back to the price. For $6.69, yeah, it was super thin, but it's probably priced fairly for what you got for that
Price to
least
move.
amount of money. So 3 being good, I gave it a 3 out of 5.
Even though it being so thin, I still gave it a 3.3. Just because of how much bigger it was than the bun.
I gave it a 4.1. Again, there was 2 different sizes. I'm interested to see the large size. I would have, if I was the person answering the phone, I would have tried to upsell you guys and got that
Especially
upcharge.
that's the only thing you're ordering. One sandwich. It's not like you're confused.
No.
4 people.
Flavor, complexity.
I gave it a 3.7. I didn't have any comments. Looking back, I think that might have been a little generous because it was, it was a good tenderloin, but there was nothing special that stood out about it. But I gave it a 3.7.
What would you have done if it was thicker?
That'd have been phenomenal
Good
tenderloin.
flavor.
I like the thicker tenderloin.
I gave it a 4 out of 5 because it was very good flavor.
I love the flavor, so I gave it a 3.3.
I also like the flavor. I gave it a 3.8. Maybe Jonesy's right. It was just so thin that, like,
The flavor was the bread.
Yeah.
You weren't tasting any pork.
bro, you know the difference between a saltine and a Ritz.
Right.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's right.
Total
That's
was
right.
92.6.
My
for
total
mine.
was 25.1 out
Oh,
of
yeah, yeah.
35.
21.7 on me.
I had 23.3.
I had 22 and a half.
And what was that grand total?
For a total of 92.6.
Still good.
Yeah.
Good total.
Good tenderloin.
And we wandered back to Gas City.
We
Finish
did.
up at the poorhouse.
We did.
We ordered and we grabbed. We went to the Moose.
We did.
Bread to meat ratio of the poorhouse / Rocks tenderloin, correct?
I believe so. To my knowledge, that is Rock's concession tenderloin sold in Brandon Rock's bar, the Poorhouse, is my understanding.
Yes. So I was kind of skeptical about this one going into it because, I'm thinking that the Rocks concession is not the same. For some reason, I thought we had, in previous times ordered tenderloins there and they wasn't as thick and they wasn't as great, but I was wrong. Usually when I go there, I order a burger and a bunch of beers, and it's just how it goes. But I gave it a 5, and it was the biggest of all of them that we had ordered
Okay.
from anywhere.
Okay.
I also gave him a 5, but if this scale went higher than 5, it's like a 20 compared to all the other ones. I mean, it was,
Yeah.
you could have probably diced up the edges and had 4 full tenderloins
Agreed.
under buns. I mean, it was definitely by weight, size, and Conrad's going to show pictures of these things. That is exactly what an Indiana tenderloin looks like to me.
That's one thing that we are missing on this. When we did the burger review, we did weigh them. Just thinking about that. And I'd be curious to know
What the actual
what
details
actual
were.
weight of them were.
I don't think there's any
I don't
doubt
think
that
we'd
that
be-
one would have had to avoid the most.
Yeah, I don't think we'd be far off.
I mean,
No,
a
definitely,
5 out of 5 on that.
definitely not.
Okay, but, so it was that big, you guys still couldn't bring me a couple bites?
No, you're gonna have to talk to Eric. That's good.
No.
I mean, I'm eating as soon as I leave here. Yeah, maybe.
I gave it a 4.9. I was right there at the 4.95. It's a very large portion of loin compared to the bread, obviously.
I was, again, hypercritical. I gave it a 4.7. This was the only 4 point anything I gave in the bread to meat ratio because this thing was, it's what you think it's going to be. Like, this is, to say that we're spoiled and getting, going to a fair and getting a tenderloin at a fair and that bun looking like a Hawaiian roll with some meat on
I
it.
mean, there's a reason why anytime there's a festival at the park,
Yeah.
there's one stand that has 80 people in line.
Yeah.
There you go.
80 people in line.
There you go.
80 people all day.
80 people in line.
There you go.
4.7. Tenderloin thickness and tenderness.
Alright, so this is where I was kind of, like I said, in my mind, I was picturing, it's so big, it's got to be thin, right? No, it wasn't. I gave it a 4.6. It wasn't as thick as the, Don's Tap or the Swayze loin, but it was twice the size and it wasn't much thinner, so I gave it a 4.6.
Okay.
I gave it a 5 out of 5, and to me, I think it's every bit as thick as any one we tried. Maybe I just had a thick corner, but we could look back at some of the pictures, but, I mean, it was a 5 out of 5 to me.
I gave it a 4.1. I thought the thickness and it was very tender too.
I gave it a 3.8, by far the thickest of what we tried today.
This dude's turning into Gordon Ramsay.
Gordon Ramsay, I like.
Gordita Ramsay.
I like. How do we categorize the perfect thickness? How do we categorize the perfect tenderloin?
Well, I mean, I don't like it thick. Like, if it looks like a pork chop with breading on it, I'm out.
Are you sure you don't want to change that score?
I like them.
No, I'm sticking with my score because I don't know what else is out there. We left out the Matthews, so we don't know what they have.
Well, that's something that people.
Matthews is thick.
Well, that's something people need to also know is we visited these places based on people on Facebook telling us to.
Yeah.
B&K and Gas City has a great tenderloin.
They do.
They were never even listed. The Moose has a good tenderloin, never even listed.
No, they were listed, but they only got a
Didn't
couple
get the votes
votes.
for us to do this.
The
Yeah,
kitchen
and
was closed.
And I love the Moose tenderloin.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit thicker.
The Sweetser Cafe,
Yeah.
but apparently they're closed until next year.
Right.
So this was the hands we're dealt. This is what we got. You might say, well, you didn't do this place. They got a better one. You might be right.
Yeah.
But this is what we did. We did doing this all day. We're reviewing these 5, and you're going to get the best out of these 5 that we did today. That's it.
Exactly. So that's what I rated it, and now we're moving on to breading quality and flavor.
I gave that a 3.9. I didn't have any comments, but it tasted really good.
I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 because it was very, very good, but I don't think the breading flavor was as good as Don's Tap.
I agree.
There's just something unique about their breading flavor that I like just a little better than this one, so I couldn't give it a 5.
I gave it a 3.5 based on the seasoning and being crispy. And the edges weren't really that bad.
No.
Okay. I gave it a 4.3. I thought it was very flavorful. Bun quality and freshness.
I gave that a 4. It was real fresh, real soft. Sesame seed bun. Only sesame seed bun in the contest, I believe. And if I remember right, it was the only sesame seed bun in the hamburger contest. So that must be their standard, but I gave it a 4.
I gave it a 4.5. Sesame seed's not my favorite, but it was, a good bun. The size was good, seemed fresh, and wrapped around a piece of meat like that, it has to get a good score.
I'm not big on sesame seed buns, so I only gave it a 3.1. But it was still a decent bun.
Sesame seed. Why did they put that on buns?
Decoration.
I like, even when I go to Arby's, I never ever get an onion
Is
bun.
it true you can't digest a sesame seed?
That's a
I
good
was
question.
told
Onion
that
bun's
once.
not the same as a sesame.
I always heard
No, onion buns
that
suck.
you would piss positive if you
That's
ate
poppy
poppy
seeds.
seeds
Yeah.
and sesame seeds.
Yeah, I blamed that on it a few times. It was the poppy
Give me your
seeds, I
pen.
swear.
I gave it a 4.1.
He's famous.
I gave it a
I walked
4.1.
into a drug test eating a poppy seed bagel, just
Just proud.
I like poppy seeds.
Right on.
I gave it a 4.1. The bun was, to me it looked like, when I see a poppy seed bun like that, it's in a bag, you're grabbing it. And that's what it is. 4.1. It was not stale. It matched the flavor of the tenderloin. And frying technique.
I gave it a 3.
A 3?
Edges,
A 3?
a 3. I probably could have given
Okay,
it
all
more.
right. I'm not trying to press you.
Well, no pressure here. Edges were crispy, but not burnt. Golden, whatever. 3. I gave it a 3.
I did not give it a 3. I gave it a 5. I mean, I thought that was cooked perfectly. I felt like it was probably the best cooked tenderloin that we had today.
Yeah.
especially for the size and what you were doing with cooking the thing. I mean, it was very, very good.
I felt like it was really fried really good for that size, and to know how long to keep it in the fryer, I gave it a 4.5.
Nice. I gave it a 4.1. It was a very well cooked. And again, going on my baseline, if I went from eating, if you put in front of me the Legion and Rocks or the Poorhouse, right now, you're going to look at Rocks and Poorhouse and say, man, that thing looks...
Yeah, if you put those two side by side,
Yeah.
it puts it in a different perspective.
And nothing against the Legion,
No.
just the outer edge was a little bit more done. I gave them 4.1. Presentation and portion size, Jonesy.
I gave it a 4. I probably could have given a little more presentation. There wasn't much to present. We opened it up somewhere else.
Brown bag.
Brown bag and yeah. But it was very big. It was by far the biggest tenderloin we had. So I gave it a 4.
No, I gave it another 5. I mean, the portion size is big. It was $10. It was probably 40% bigger than the $14 tenderloin from Don's.
Yeah.
And for $10, and you look at the American Legions was $6.50 for an extra $3.50. You got 3 times the sandwich.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a 5 as far as the 5 that we reviewed.
I gave it a 4.2. It could have been up to a 5 because of the portion you got based on the price.
Yeah. I gave it a 4.7. The portion, I was like, I looked over at you guys, I was like, man, this is damn near what you get at, Ducktail Run.
Right.
It might be a little smaller because you can buy like half sizes down there, but I was like,
Oh, I think it's every bit. I mean,
Yeah.
it's exactly
It
the
was-
one that you get at
it was
Ducktail.
big. It was
Sure.
big.
You're two-handing it,
Yeah, definitely.
swatting bees.
Especially if you get a shake it.
Oh my. Flavor complexity. Jonesy.
I gave it a 3.5. I didn't put any comments, but I mean, it was a really good tenderloin.
I gave it a 4.5 because it was right up there with every other one we tried for flavor complexity, whatever the fuck that is.
I had a 3.8 because the really good seasoning.
Okay.
Really good.
Okay. I gave
Is
it
anybody at home keeping score of the piss breaks?
This is number 4.
It is number 4. I gave it a
You
4.2.
need to hook that wireless mic on when he goes in.
I should put one in the bathroom. He's probably like, this motherfucker, I'm gonna kill him.
Conrad, I'm pretty sure I went in there after him earlier and he had a skid mark left on the floor. Hey, I pissed it off for you.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Did you see the TikTok video where they're saying now that you should not piss standing up because when you pee in the water, it like splatters like micro dots of urine?
You don't pee standing up in prison.
No, they make no. While you
They'll
go,
splatter on your bunkie and they'll kick your ass.
he doesn't know from experience, man. Anyways, I gave it a 4.2. The flavor complexity was, I thought it was really good. It was a damn good tenderloin. Would Jonesy give it 3.5?
On the flavor complexity, 3.5. He went pretty hard on the Poorhouse.
You know what? Not just the Poorhouse.
I don't know if he was just tired and grumpy from being in the car for 2 hours, or
Come in the back seat.
please.
I was going to ask.
he wasn't able to piss 30 times.
Yeah, he was pretty hard on them all.
He was.
4.2 was, I thought, a well-deserved score for a
Sure.
cooked sandwich at $10. It wasn't like something obscene. Nothing against Don's Tap. you're supposed to get $14 for that and chips. I bet you the $10 for another $4 you can get half a trash plate.
Yeah, that's another thing with the price of everything. I mean, obviously Don's Tap has done their market research. They're getting $14 for that Tenderloin.
Oh, I guarantee.
So some of these places are charging less. You might want to take a note and maybe raise your prices. Because if that's a $14 Tenderloin, this is a $20 Tenderloin at Rocks.
Right.
I mean, in my opinion. As far as size, portion, those kind of things.
Don't raise your price.
I mean, I'm not going to knock anybody for having an expensive Tenderloin. If you're
it's good.
getting it, if you're getting money for it, if you're getting $14 for it on a regular basis, good for you.
Were the people off? Because the most people were saying the Rocks Tenderloin was the best.
Were the people off? Well, let's do the totals and find out.
Man, let's do it.
What was
Let's
our
do it.
totals on the Rocks?
What was your total?
28,
28.
33 and a half.
28.1.
29.9.
Do you want me to read all of the
I think we
results?
should read from 5th to 1st.
5th place with 81.9 points is Horners. 4th place with 91.7 points, the Legion in Jonesboro, Post 95.
Okay, good job, Post. 95.
3rd place with 92.6 points is Meyer Drive-In.
Podium.
Podium.
Yep.
Top 3.
Bronze. 2nd place with 116.5 points. Don's Tap. Which puts us 1st place with 119.5 points. The Poorhouse.
That was close.
So the people were correct.
The people have spoken.
They said that was the best Tenderloin. They were correct.
People's champ?
People's
Sure.
champ and, the reviews champ. I feel, my personal
Did
opinion,
any one of us not have Rocks being number 1? Because that's a total accumulation of all of us.
Yes.
Rocks was number 1 in my sheet.
Wasn't my-
not on mine.
So you had Don's as number 1.
Don's was number 1 on
Did
mine.
you miss a score on Rocks?
No. I mean, maybe I ought to check, but no. But Don's Tap, that was my criteria. I like a thick tenderloin. The butter bun was an extra. That's just what I like. I know
Yeah, I
everyone likes the
gotcha.
thin ones.
And we're all
Big ones.
adjusted.
I believe Don's Tap had the best flavor. I'll give it that.
Yeah, they had really good flavor.
You really can't compete.
But
Really good
here's
overall.
another thing. This dude can eat a large pizza, and I'm taking half a hamburger home when we go somewhere. So,
Yeah.
he may like the more.
I think everybody won their own little categories. I
Right,
think. I mean,
right.
an overall judgment, I think it was fair, and
Right.
that's what we come up with.
I think out of all of them, we would all definitely go get another Tenderloin.
Yeah, we've said that about
From every
everything.
single place, yeah.
We've
And
said
you
that
know-
about everything we've reviewed. This is
And
not.
I'm going to throw this out for myself. I was kind of harsh on Meyer last time. Probably said some things maybe that were across the line. I was really pleasantly surprised with their tenderloin this time because
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be greasy and whatever. I've never had tenderloin from there, but
First,
pleasantly surprised, and I would definitely have one.
and for as thin as it was really good.
Right.
They were all good.
I don't think you should ever feel like you crossed the line for saying something
Well,
you
you
feel,
know.
or your judgment.
Well, but you do have to remember this is a business. You don't want to say
Yeah.
anything bad.
Right,
Yeah.
It takes away from a family business. I mean,
Right.
That's not what this is about.
Yeah.
We're not trying to.
No.
Well, they're the worst tenderloin on our list.
We're,
Well,
we're
yeah,
five
yeah.
guys that are just
Right.
from around
Who
here.
gives a
We
fuck
have
what
an
we say?
opinion, and
And
nobody
in
cares
3
what we
food
say.
reviews, we have never ever said, "Don't go to this place."
No.
So
And I'll be honest with you, if I didn't want you to go to that place, I still wouldn't say it because I don't want to be the reason that somebody doesn't go there. Not that people are going to listen to us,
Right.
but I mean that's not the case this time nor the last 2 times. They've all been good. We would all eat them. No, like I said before, nobody's going to send this back. Nobody was pissed about anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just our very, very, very uneducated, critical opinion of 5 tenderloins.
have you guys ever put cheese on your tenderloin?
Yes.
No.
I have.
Really?
I don't like cheese that much.
You don't like cheese?
I usually get a hamburger.
Okay. No cheese?
No.
Okay.
School cheese growing up.
Too much of that government cheese.
Just don't want to melt in the microwave.
Too much of that
I'll
government
put them on like a Tennessee Pride, and that's the only one. Just
Okay.
to give it a little extra something because it's just a frozen tenderloin.
Yeah, yeah. The only place that offered to put cheese on the tenderloin was Meyer.
cheese.
Really?
You want cheese on that?
That might have been the only place we didn't want it.
Come on, just redeemed ourselves.
Well, that was about the cheeseburgers. The cheese wasn't real good. I'm sorry. Maybe they should ask if you want the big tenderloin.
All right, boys.
Thank you.